Hello, I'm Colie Otzel. Welcome to America's Salon Academy, the podcast. I believe that success leaves clues, so listen closely as I discuss life and business with some of the world's best hair artists. My guest for today has overcome the odds and worked her way to the top of the hair industry. As an educator, hairdresser, artist, salon owner, and new brand ambassador for Joico, she encourages hairdressers to follow their passion and constantly seek fresh inspiration. She teaches the techniques that she's created on stages across the globe in front of thousands of stylists and salon professionals to help them build the career they want. And she is only 29 years old. Our guest for today is Larisa Love. Thank you so much for being here with me
Hello,
today.
thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So I understand you're in Europe currently. Are you there for fun?
I actually am. I travel so much for work, and it's nice to take a little vacation and kind of take your mind off of everything, even though realistically, I'm still technically working, making sure that my salon is running smoothly and creating content. So I'm never officially off work, but yeah, technically I'm on vacation.
Yeah, actually, it's funny because when I called you, you're like, hey, I'm at a festival. So you're actually working and having fun with this podcast all at the same time.
Exactly. You
Right?
know what? There's nothing wrong with intermixing both.
Right. All right. So tell us, where are you from?
Well, originally I'm from Ukraine, in Kiev. I was born there, and I moved to the States when I was 6 years old. My family won the visa lottery, which they don't even do that anymore. My life would have been
Wow.
completely different if we didn't win the visa lottery. And so we moved to the States when I was 6, and we moved straight to California, and I've been just kind of bouncing around all over SoCal. And now I live in Los Angeles, California.
Wow. What an interesting beginning. Yeah. So was it just you, or do you have siblings?
So it was my immediate family that won the visa lottery. So me, my 2 brothers, my sister, and my parents all got the visa lottery to come to America.
Wow. That's amazing. So what did your mom and dad do for a living?
So this is actually very interesting, and not a lot of people know this. My dad is a pastor, and not only, like a regular type pastor, but like very, very strict Pentecostal Russian pastor. So
Wow.
he was not happy when I decided to go into the hairdressing world, because in his eyes it's a sin, because I'm creating punky colors, and it doesn't, I don't know. That's just the way he thinks. So he was not very accepting of it whatsoever. My mom, she is an accountant. She has like a 9 to 5. She loves her job. She loves having like structure. So I come from a background of complete opposite of what I am.
Wow. That's amazing. So what did you do for fun when you were growing up?
Man, I love to do a lot of activities. I love sports, which is funny because I don't do any of that anymore. I love to do art as well. I would always be making clothes. I would be painting. I would be crocheting. I would uh, I would be making jewelry. Anything artistic, I really, really loved. And I mean, now as a hairdresser, I feel like the hair is my canvas, and so I put all of my energy and artistry into that. So it's just kind of evolved. Nothing's really changed.
Right. So did you do like artsy stuff with your parents and with your siblings, or were you kind of like the black sheep, if you will?
I am 100% the black sheep of the family. I swear I was adopted.
Right.
I'm the youngest out of 4, and I'm nothing like my siblings or my parents. And yeah, so they still don't fully accept the fact that I'm a hairdresser. They think that I should have a quote unquote real job, as in be a doctor or a nurse or a lawyer, because in their eyes, especially coming from a foreign family, I feel like a lot of foreigners see a real job as in having a degree.
Right. Yes, definitely. So, how old were you when you figured out that hair would be your
You
career?
know, I remember back in the day, even in Ukraine, when I was 5 years old, I learned how to French braid on a Barbie on my own, just sitting there, just kind of figuring it out. I ran to my mom and I'm like, Mom, look, look, I French braided this Barbie. And she thought my sister did it. My sister's 8 years older than me. And so it just came very natural to me. And as a kid, I loved doing hair. For me, when I would go to school, I didn't care what outfit I was wearing, but my hair had to be different every single day. That was kind of like my outfit. And I was really lucky to know what I wanted to do at a young age. And when I was 17, I actually moved out of my parents' house just because it was such a strict household, and I was not allowed to do many things. And so I kind of went on my own, and my parents completely cut me off because they weren't supportive of me pursuing my dream in the hairdressing world. And I did go to college for a semester and a half. And then the minute I moved out of my parents' house, I quit college, signed up for beauty school all on the same day, and never looked back.
Ooh. Oh my
Yeah.
God. So, you had your mind made up. That is for
Yeah.
sure.
I got really lucky to know what I wanted to do at a young age. And I never thought that my career would take me, to where it has now.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually have not necessarily a similar background, but some of the same events in my life. I moved out when I was 17 years old, but not because my parents were strict. It was actually the opposite, that at that point, I was just ready to sort of go.
Uh-huh.
And I also knew at a very young age, at like 8 years old, I did my very first haircut. So
Wow.
it's interesting to me. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't good,
Hey, at least you tried.
Right. But, at a very young age, it's like you get drawn to these things and they sort of call your
Mhm.
name, and then you know what you want. And I think once you get like a really clear vision, there's no stopping you, right?
Absolutely. Once you really know what you want, even though you don't know how to get it, I think that you can be absolutely unstoppable if you just don't have fear and just go for it and see what happens. I think a lot of us, what stops us from really creating our life and what we want to do and, be successful is fear. So the ones that are just, what, screw it, I'm just going to go for it and see what happens, are the ones that become successful because they have nothing to lose. They'd rather lose everything than not pursue their dream.
Right. Yes. Well said. So, what were some of the fears that you had to overcome or face? I mean, besides your parents, I mean, did you have any personal fears?
Well, when I moved out when I was 17, I was a waitress, and I'm sure waitresses don't make a lot of money, and so I literally had to pay all my own bills, from to where I lived, to my cell phone, to my car insurance, to my car payment, everything. I literally lived off of top ramen, and so my fear was to where am I going to get my food the next day? How am I going to survive another day? But that didn't stop me. It just kept me. It was, if anything, it pushed me more. And so I didn't really have any like fears on like how other people do in a sense. It was more of a fear of
Mm-hmm.
failing, because I already had so much pressure and so many people not believing in me, as in my family. And so I
Right.
took their negativity, and I should say more about my dad because my mom was supportive in many ways. My dad, he just said this is a hobby, this is not a career. And so I took that negativity and really just it pushed me to show him, oh yeah, not only is this not a career, but it could be an amazing career where you can do what you love and make great money doing it. And, you know, and thankfully for him, I still thank him. Like, thank you for not believing in me because you were my biggest
Right.
push.
Oh, I love that so much. Yeah, like that's also something that lines up sort of the same with me. My father, he thought it was just going to be a hobby for me, and then he when I told him I actually wanted to do it as a career, he pretty much said to me, "Oh, great. So now you're going to make
Yeah.
$2 or $3 an hour." Like, yeah.
I think also
So,
back in the day too, I think now with social media, people are starting to see how amazing and beautiful that this industry really is. But back in the day without social media, it was such a taboo thing to become a hairdresser, because we were, the way they saw us was, we're not smart, we don't want to go to college, and we just want to have fun, you know, when in
Right.
reality, like, we are chemists or therapists, like, we have to know so many things. We are very, very intelligent, and we
Right.
have that artistry that has to come with it as well. And now people are seeing that through social media, when back in the day it was complete opposite, where people now look up to us as hairdressers, where before they used to be like, oh, she's just a hairdresser, she's not smart, you know. So things have changed and evolved, and I'm so thankful for social media for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you played a huge part in that. I mean, you really brought a lot of things onto social media and sort of opened the world and evolved the entire industry. I mean, in my opinion, you've done so much to sort of pave the
Thank
way.
you, thank you.
Yeah.
I really tried, and you know, I think I was one of the first out of many, many hairdressers, because I feel like now it's oversaturated with hairdressers, so it's a little bit more difficult to really make yourself stand out. Where back in the day, there wasn't many people using Instagram, for example, and they were using it back in the day. I don't know if you remember, for filters, you know, for Facebook.
Right.
So things have definitely changed with Instagram, where I was one of the few people, as a hairdresser at least, that I saw like the amazing ability that Instagram had, and I ran with it,
Right.
and I really just started promoting myself as a hairdresser on there, and showing my work, and really tried to gain a following and gain clientele through that. And I would say 99% of my followers, I mean, my clients, are from Instagram, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, Instagram has definitely been a big part of my career, and I really am thankful for it.
So, did you have mentors? And the second part of that question is, how did you get connected with them?
You know, I bounced from a few salons, from West Hollywood to Beverly Hills, back and forth, and I couldn't really find a salon that I truly loved, because I felt like I was just one of those assistants that just like would broom the hair and like wash the hair, and didn't really get my hands in the hair. So I wasn't really learning. I didn't have a mentor that truly wanted to teach me anything, but more of use me as their assistant, if that makes sense. And
Yes.
so I didn't really have a mentor in that sense. So I just, you know, I decided to, after a year and a half of doing that, I said, you know what, I'm just going to go off on my own and see what happens. And I think, again, like, why my success is here is because I take a lot of risks. And this was one of those risks that, where I was like, you know what, I'm going to start all over, and I'm just going to put myself out there on social media, put out my work, even though I didn't have a lot of clients. So I used a lot of my friends and family to like post up my work, and just slowly start getting clientele from that. But then I found my mentor about 3 or 4 years later. Her name is Nina Passion Squared on Instagram. Everyone needs to
Awesome.
follow her if you don't know. Do you know who she is?
I do. Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
Nina Comner, and she's incredible, and she's my go-to when it comes to any problem I have in this industry or a question. She's always there for me, and she's definitely been incredible. But mentor from the beginning, no, I didn't really have one, so I just kind of created my own being in a sense.
Wow, that's really inspiring. So, how long did it take before you actually felt successful?
You know, like I mentioned in the beginning, I think because I really jumped on a bandwagon with Instagram, it kind of uh, came really quickly to me. So after being in the industry for 3 years, I was booked up with 2 years advance with clients. And it happened really fast. It was a year and a half of me really promoting myself on Instagram, and I was booked up 3 years. And I mean, 2 years. And one, don't ever think anyone should ever do that because your life is
Right.
scheduled for you for 2 years. But I didn't know. I was just like, wow, people really want to wait that long. People really want to come and get their hair done by me. All right, cool. I'll book you, you know, a year and a half from now. But I learned to not do that. 3, 4 months
Right.
max for me now. But it came really, really quickly. Where, like, again, I think with social media being so oversaturated with Instagram, I mean, with with hairstylists, it's a little bit more difficult. So you really just have to make yourself stand out in your own authentic way.
Yes. So how do you find like a work-life balance? I mean, have you found that, or are you still kind of finding that?
People ask me that all the time because they think I have it all together. They're like, how do you find your balance? And I have no balance. And I think people that really truly love what they do, they're engulfed in that passion in what they're doing. So their balance is just loving what they're doing, So I don't really have a balance. My balance is just loving what I do every day and being engulfed in that. I do love to travel for not only work, but for fun as well. I do own a business salon, and, being brand ambassador for Joico, I'm always doing shoots and etc. And that's my balance. I don't really have like half and half because I don't want that. My passion is my
Yeah.
balance.
Yeah. So it runs so deep in you that it's truly like the do what you love and you never work a day in your life. That's kind of how you're
Absolutely,
living.
absolutely, and I'm a
Yeah.
firm believer of that. I mean, that's a neon sign in my salon, is do what you love. That's kind of my motto.
Hmm. So, do you love your career every day, or do you sometimes like get stuck? Like some artists, and I've been there, where you feel like every day is just sort of like another day. Do you ever get like that?
Absolutely. There's some days where I wake up and I'm like, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I'm burnt out. I don't want to go to work. And not because I don't love my clients or what I do, but just because it does take a toll on your body, your mind, your soul. You know, um, So absolutely, I have my days, but those days are rare, but they do happen. And when those days start happening more often than the normal, that's when I know it's time for me to take a break and go on vacation, or just even take a mental break for 2 days and go somewhere that's not far, but go to the beach and kind of reset. I think everyone needs to reset, because being burnt out on doing what you love is the worst possible feeling in the world.
Right. Yeah, because where do you go, especially when it's your hobby as well?
Absolutely, exactly. So,
All right.
so yeah, I
So
think I
I
think
saw,
everyone can relate to that. I think you can relate to that. I can relate to that, and every artist or anyone that does anything that they're passionate about can relate to that.
definitely. So I saw your post on Instagram about happiness.
Yeah,
And you mentioned that happiness is letting go of what you think your life should look like, and you should be grateful for what is. Can you tell me a little bit that was behind that post?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that again? You broke up.
Sure. So you mentioned happiness is letting go of what you think your life should look like and being grateful for what it is.
Absolutely. So, I think a lot of us, as when we're younger, we kind of see our life in a certain way. We kind of say, oh, I'm going to be this by this age. I'm going to do this by this age. I want to do A, B, and C. And then when we get to that age, then we're let down. Where for me, I thought I was going to be married, I was going to have kids, I was going to own a house, like all of these things. When in reality, like clearly life has a different route for you. And I think you should just kind of flow with it and go with it, and just be happy with what's happening at the moment, because we're so always thinking about what's next that we kind of forget to really reflect and be happy in the moment. And so in the end, we never find that true happiness because we're always looking for the next best thing.
Yes, I can relate to that very much. I went, I want to say probably about 6 months ago, I kind of came out of like a depression
Mhm.
almost, because that's how I was living my life. Like I was like just living out of like a suitcase, and it was like constant moving and constant going, going, going. And I didn't even realize that that's what was happening, until
Absolutely.
it's sort of like you almost like crash.
Yeah.
And so I think, being able to reflect and being proud of yourself, little steps along the way, is a really, really big deal, and learning to sort of slow down in life.
Absolutely. I think we're also like trying to rush to like the next thing that's going to make us happy, the next thing that that we see in our goal, where we're not really reflecting on the things that we've already like succeeded in and are doing now. And our life is going to pass us by so quickly, and we're always just going to be, you know, truly unhappy in the long run, because we're never going to be in the now, and
Right.
I have to literally stop myself at times and be like, okay, I am the now. Like, what is happening around me? Like, at times what I like to do is I like to take a walk in the morning and totally just get off my phone, and just kind of be in the now and enjoy my surroundings, enjoy the textures of the trees, the beautiful colors, the sunrise, the sunsets, all of that. Like, just be in the now and enjoy your surrounding, really.
Yeah, I love that. So, if we stepped into your life, just say today or any regular day, what would we see? Like, what would your daily routine be? You said you go for a walk in the morning. Like, what else would you do?
Yeah, so I like to take my dog, Mishka, for a walk in the mornings. We go get coffee. And then I get ready for work, if I'm working, because right now my career is half traveling, half work. I mean, half salon. Um,
Right.
and then so I'll get ready. I'll go to the salon. My first client starts at 10, and I'm in the salon for probably around from like 4 to 5, 6, really depending on the day, how many clients I have. Um, I always make time for the gym. I like to go to the gym at least 4 or 5 times a week. So I'll either go to the gym, or if I'm really tired, I'll have my trainer come to my house and
Mm-hmm.
train me at my house. And then I like to at least, make some time for my boyfriend and I to like go on a date, get some dinner, go to a movie, or even just really relax at home and just kind of get away from work for a minute, because I feel like I'm so engulfed in that all 24/7. But
Yeah.
then I always make time to still edit, create content, and post, my videos, my photos, all that for social media. Something that I done on my own for, from the beginning, and I still something that I still do. And it does take a lot of time, but I think it's something really important to kind of show my work. And I have to at least make 30 minutes out of my day for content making. But
So,
yeah, I'm
okay, so
pretty
30
I'm
minutes.
pretty basic. It's not as exciting as it seems, to be honest. I think we put out on life all the good things, and people don't really see that I'm just like an ordinary, normal person too. Like, I go to the gym, I go get my coffee in the morning, I relax at home, watch a movie, I go to dinner. Like, it's really nothing crazy.
Right. So, you said you create about 30 minutes of content. Is that pretty much like every day? It just becomes a part of your routine then?
Absolutely, it does. And the great thing about like what me and my boyfriend do is that even though we're in different industries, we have very similar lifestyles. He's a musician, so he's always traveling, but he
Mm-hmm.
always has to create content and be working on his phone too. And so we both understand that when I'm like, I got to be on my phone because I need to create content, because he does the same thing. We both get it, and that's something that like has to become part of our life, because social media is so important for artists, and so we have to make time for that, no matter how tired I am or not. I do it no matter what.
Okay, so I just have a few questions about like how you basically decided to brand yourself. When you first started doing, say, Instagram or social media at all, did you purposefully have these like amazing hats, or did that sort of just kind of come in play later?
It definitely was not a purpose at all. I just it this happened about 7 years ago. I was on eBay, and I saw this really cool wide brim hat. It was a black hat, and it was definitely something that like no one was wearing at the time, really. It was not big.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what, this looks cool, let me like buy it. It was $80, and at that time I'm like, that's kind of a lot of money for me, but whatever, I'll
Right.
splurge on a hat. And it just kind of became part of my brand. And now I have a hat guy that makes all my custom hats, and I have probably 25 hats, are all different colors, sizes, etc. And I love it. It's just kind of become my brand, and people like look for the hat when I'm at the shows, you know, and they're always like,
Yeah.
if I'm not wearing it, they're like, where's the hat, you know? But it definitely doesn't, like, it's not glued onto my head. I don't wear it 24/7, but it just kind of became part of my brand and who I am, and I love it. It's part of my style, but definitely not like on purpose whatsoever. It just happened naturally, organically. And I think that's another thing too, is that when you brand yourself, you really have to be consistent in it, but also be authentic in it, you know? So people know me that I'm always wearing like platform heels 24/7, and the hat. That's just like my look no matter what.
Now,
And
do you always dress like that? Like, even like for fun? I'm sure you don't necessarily dress like that around the house, but I mean, even at the grocery store, do you kind of have the same look, or is that like a show look?
absolutely. Absolutely. People actually, my sister was the other day, we were going to a show. She was making fun of me because she was like Instagram versus reality. And she was posting herself as reality. And she's like in like her sweatpants and like just like flats. And I'm like in my platform boots and my hat. And I'm just like, I don't know how else to dress. Like, this is just me dressing down. Like, this is who I am.
Right.
You know, so it's not just for show. That it's who I am authentically. And yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the leading ladies. I saw that you're on that panel, and I haven't actually gotten a chance to be at one of the shows that you guys are up there talking. Explain to me a little bit what that is and how you got involved with that.
So Leading Ladies is something that Tracy Hughes created, and it's basically about women empowering other women and telling our success stories to be able to inspire others, not only women, but just anyone in general. But she just decided it's going to be just for women on the panel. And it was an honor to be on the Leading Ladies because I'm next to these iconic women, and I feel like it's just little old me. You know, I haven't been in the industry for even 10 years, and being next to people that have been in the industry for years and years that are doing this is incredible. And I believe this is my fourth or fifth Leading Ladies that I've done. And we just travel the US. Now we're going to start doing traveling globally and just kind of inspiring others and sharing our stories, because I feel also in the beginning for women it was so much more difficult to really become more successful because it was a man's world, where now things are changing, you know, finally, thank God. Like, oh my God, we're in the what is it, 2020 almost, you know. um, so it's just a great way of inspiring others by telling our stories, really.
Oh, that's amazing. So, what do you do to bring, say, like calmness or peace, to kind of stay low key in your life? What do you do? I mean, you take your dog for walks and things like that. And I know you said living in the now. Is there anything else that you do that just allows you to sort of detach, unplug?
Yeah. Well, like I mentioned before, I love to travel. I make it a very a big point in my life to travel at least once every 6 weeks. I take a week off and I go somewhere. For me, that's detaching. And, you know, just kind of really experiencing different cultures and just kind of like being surrounded by a different atmosphere that's unknown for me is really relaxing, and puts a really different perspective into my life and more gratitude into my life as well. But also, you know, just like detaching by going to dinner, you know, and putting my phone down,
Yeah.
or, you know, walking my dog, like I said, in the mornings. Um, you know, those are the things that are really important to me, or listening to music and making it very apparent just to not be on social media for an hour or two in a day. And I think so many of us are so attached to our phone that we don't even realize how many times we flip the phone open to go on Instagram and all that. And so, you know, even deleting Instagram for a day or two. So what I did about a month ago, I went on a little trip up north, and I completely deleted Instagram for 3 days and just like was in the now, just being by the beach and just kind of enjoying my surroundings, you know. But it's hard. It's really hard because this industry is so engulfed in social media. So it's really hard to kind of detach yourself. But I think it's also really important for your mental state. And Nina Passion Square, my mentor, she told me, you know, I think everyone should at least detach themselves from Instagram for one day out of the week. And I've been really trying to do that. And I think everyone should try to do that. And they'll see a sort more of a peace and calmness coming to them because we're so just attached to our phones that, again, we don't realize it.
Yes, agreed. And it's weird because my I have two little kids, and they say kids sort of mimic what you do, and and my kids even said to me, well, I want to watch YouTube, and I'm like, go outside and play, and they're
Yeah.
like, but you're on your phone, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, so
Yeah.
I really had to check myself and
Yeah.
realize, they're watching you, and you don't realize how long you're on. So now what I've done is I set like an Instagram timer, so that way I know. And it's like after that, I cut myself right off, and I refuse to get on until, say, maybe the next day, or whatever it is. But yeah, it's easy. It's very easy to get lost in the world of social media.
Absolutely. But like, you know, you have to be the greater example if you're telling others to do the same.
Right. So do you think that you will ever say, I know that you're young, but do you think that you'll ever retire or leave the industry?
Absolutely not. You will be seeing me doing hair until I'm 102 years old.
Yeah.
Um, I think I'm definitely kind of evolving to I'm kind of getting back away from being behind the chair more and doing education around the world and just kind of educating, traveling and doing shoots with Joico and just in general that type of world. But it's still doing hair. I don't think I will ever stop doing hair. And I don't think I'll even stop being behind the chair. I just think that I'm going to be doing less of that and more of traveling and educating.
Oh,
But no, I love this industry way too much, and I love what I do way too much. And I don't do it for the money, I don't do it for the fame, I don't do it for anything else but pure enjoyment that comes from the heart for me.
well, you worked really hard for it. So yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think anything that comes to you easily isn't going to be, you're not going to appreciate it as much, you know. And I definitely had my battles and, you know, a lot of things that were in the way, but I think I overcame, and that's what makes me fall in love with it even more because it wasn't easy.
Right. So tell me a little bit about your denim aprons that everybody loves.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So, my first launch was incredible. I had no idea how many people wanted denim aprons. They sold out in 7 minutes, and it was just like a shock to me. I just think, you know, I wanted to create an apron that was cool and edgy. Us hairdressers are so cool. We have such cool styles, but then we wear these flimsy, really gross, not cute aprons. So I just decided to like create it and see what happens. And so then I came out with another round of aprons that were slightly different and better denim, and they sold out as well. And so I'm coming out with more very, very soon. I'm going to be launching the date very soon, and they're going to be different design and different colors. And so that way that people can have a variety to choose from. And so I'm super excited. You'll be able to get them on LarisaLoveSalon.com on the website. And I obviously will be posting on my Instagram as well, all the details, which is my Instagram at Larisa Doll with one S.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I believe that they were sold out in 7 minutes because like everybody I know was like, oh my gosh, like they talk about it, they want it, it's part of your brand, it's part, and you can tell like everything that you do, you put your heart and soul into because it's so true to you. And I think that's like the most important thing is like you said, being very organic, you know, with your hat and like the way you dress. This isn't for show. This isn't fake. These are really things that come from your heart. And I think that that's a great example of how, you know, there's not an exact science necessarily on branding yourself. It's just being real. It's just being honest.
Absolutely. People always ask me, like, how do you brand yourself? And I just say, first you have to find out who you are, what you really love to do, and then stick to that. Stick to being authentic in not only the way you dress and how you act, but also on what type of clientele you want to do. I don't do men's hair at all. So that is, I only hair, and that's like sticking to my brand. I love color, so I stick to my brand, and being consistent in it is really, really important. But the number one key factor is knowing who you are first before you can go and brand yourself.
Right. Well, that's great advice. Larisa, thank you so much for being honest, for being real, and being open with me today. I know your mission is to inspire other artists out there, and you've done just that today with us.
Thank you, Colie.
Yeah, you are such a beautiful soul, and I look forward to seeing where the beauty industry takes you from here. I'm sure you're going many, many places, and there's millions of people, you know, watching you. No pressure, right?
No pressure at all, but lots of pressure.
Right. But again, thank you so much for your time. I realize that time is so valuable. So thank you so much for sharing your time with me today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Colie, for having me.
For more salon and business education, visit americassalonacademy.com.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money for your podcast with minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.